So Matt, thanks for stopping in today. So I know with your long history in law enforcement and now up at SDSU, been reading in the ARP bulletin about fraud and all the things that are happening across America and in South Dakota. I understand, billions of dollars are lost to fraudsters every year. What can you talk a little bit about the fraud work that you've done in the past, or like things that you've combated over your years of service?
Yeah, so it's actually $12 billion a
Wow.
year,
Wow.
which is, I was trying to figure out what that really means. If you or I had $12 billion, we could spend $1.5 million every day
Yeah.
and not run through it in our lifetime. I mean, this is a timely topic for AARP because people over 50, for whatever reason, we can talk about that at some point, but they are very susceptible. So 75% of people over 50 have been the victim of an attempted fraud. And then of those 75%, about 35%, so a full third, have actually been victims
Wow.
who've given up money. So it's a giant problem.
Yeah. What are some of the frauds that you see happening often, but then what are some of the newer scams that are happening that are kind of popping up and a little bit more trendy, newer fraud?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, I was an FBI agent for 32 years. And so really, I have a little bit of a unique perspective because I went from an era where there weren't really internet and phone scams to now where they're full-fledged. First of all, people should know that scammers change their tactics.
Sure.
And they take advantage of what the current vibes are. So I'll give you an example of that. Investing in cryptocurrency is a current thing that people talk about. And younger people are very adept at it and invest in it. But then older people are often persuaded that their retirement portfolio is not complete unless they invest in crypto. But they don't really know how to invest in crypto. And so someone online will offer to invest money for them.
Sure.
There was a guy who I knew who ran a donut shop, retired, and lost $2 million in an investment scam like that. The other one, which is sort of an old one, which continues on now, is called the grandparent scam. And that's an amazing one because people get calls from someone purporting to be their grandkids, and who doesn't want to help their grandkids.
Absolutely.
But remarkably, it's hard to recognize a voice on the phone. A couple of the ones that I think are probably both more recent and more insidious are ones that involve either people who identify themselves as law enforcement or as bank officials. And they'll call victims and say, well, in the case of law enforcement, they'll identify themselves as an FBI agent and say that they've caught this person doing something wrong, typically involving pornography, although not always, and say that if they will pay a fine, then there will be no criminal charges. We had an instance where an older gentleman, he was about 75, came in with cash and wanted to pay us the fine. So the former law enforcement officials who were retired, who got pulled up in this, and they'll pretend to be someone from a bank.
Okay.
And usually the bank of the person who is being victimized, and tell them that there's been a break into their account, that they need to move all of their cash to a safe account. Right. They need to do it right now. And that's one that we saw just before I left, and that was becoming very,
very prominent.
Very prominent.
It's unfortunate, and I think, with the advent of potentially AI voice generation too, I think that's going to also really confuse everybody, and certainly older adults as well. Why do you think that older adults or folks over 50 are likely to be more targeted or more susceptible to scams?
Well, I think, first of all, they're more trusting. That's sort of a stereotype, but I think it goes even more deeply than that, which is that we've now transitioned into an era where we don't do things face to face anymore. And certainly for those of us who are over 50, one of the ways that we could assess whether someone was being honest with us was sitting down with them face to face.
Sure.
We don't do that anymore. We get emails, we talk on the phone.
Text messages, all those
That's
things.
exactly right, yeah. So that's number one. And then number two, we're in an era where everything has to be done right now.
Right now,
and
immediate.
very quickly. And folks our age are not, first of all, very comfortable with that, but also people our age want to make sure that things are done and taken care of.
Right.
And so I think they're particularly susceptible to someone saying, oh no, we need to get this done right away. So in my mind, those are a couple of the reasons why older folks are particularly susceptible.
So Matt, can you tell us a little bit about what are potential red flags for people to know if they get a text or a phone call or whatever, like just something that we should be watching for?
Yeah, and I don't want to give too long a laundry list, but there are a couple of things that are really important. One is, I like to call this the unexpected rule. If you get an email, text, whatever, out of the blue, you really need to think long and hard about what your response is and whether it's real or not. And so, for example, if you get something that says that you won a lottery, but you don't remember ever having invested in a lottery, or you have someone who's going to bequeath their estate to you, but you don't have a cousin by that name. And it sort of goes on and on and on. Or if you were fined for some sort of a vehicle violation, but you don't really remember that. Those kind of unexpected things that come through, that's really an important red flag.
Okay.
The second part of it is if there's urgency involved. And this is sort of a theme, and it's always been a theme with conmen, and it's no different on the phone or on the computer. If there's a sense that it has to be done right now, then you should think long and hard about that, because nothing really has to be done right now, particularly when it involves finances.
Sure.
So I would say if it's unexpected and if it has a real sense of urgency. I guess one other thing that I would add that's important, if anyone ever asked you to pay in an odd way, so if people want to be paid in Visa cards, or in gift cards, or, and this is really a big one, if they want you to pay in cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency people won't like this, but almost 100% of transactions involving cryptocurrency are illegal. So if anyone asks you to pay in cryptocurrency, so I would say odd payments, odd payment request, unexpected, and a sense of urgency. Those would be the three big red flags.
Okay. So Matt, how do people protect themselves when we've talked a little bit, quite a bit about fraud and the different scams out there? What are the best things that people can do?
Yeah, I think there's three things that people should do. And I think of this as pause, consult, and blow the whistle.
Okay.
The pause part is when you get a message that you're concerned about or that doesn't quite make sense or that has this false sense of urgency, you should just pause.
Okay.
Like any other important thing, it's fine to say, I want to think about this, I'll get back to you. The consult part of that is the reason that you're pausing is you might figure out it's a scam on your own, but even if you don't, if you have a funny feeling, consult with someone who you trust.
Sure.
A younger person, a lawyer, a financial consultant, a banker, someone who you can run the scenario by. Because 9 times out of 10, if it's fishy, if you go to someone who's trusted, they'll say, you better not think about this. And then the third thing is blow the whistle. And by that, I mean two different things. One is you should report this to the police and also to the FBI. Maybe more importantly, we have a 1-800 number. And that's important to do right away because, and I've had this great experience several times of being able to recover people's money.
Sure.
If they contact me soon enough, but it's got to be within 72 hours or there's not much I can do. The other part of blow the whistle is, actually this is an AARP story. My mom was in a retirement area and was a member of AARP, and they gave out whistles.
Okay.
to people, and the instruction was, if somebody is bothering you and calling you and you feel like they're pulling a scam, just hit them with the whistle on the phone.
That's a great
and it'll
idea.
blow their ears out.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, one time I called and I paused before I said hello, and she thought I was a scammer and she let me have it. So pause, consult, and blow the whistle.
Awesome. That's those are three great things to think about when you're dealing with fraud, and I love the personal example too. So thanks again for the conversation today. It's always good to run through some stuff with a friend and make sure that we're helping protect people out in the social media sphere. So thank you.
You're welcome.